If you're looking to add a front camera to your Corvette because it doesn't have one because it was either an earlier model or didn't come factory equipped, I'm going to show you how to add one. Okay, so today I'm going to go over a little module that you can add to your car that has a bunch of different functions to it. It's a nifty little module. It's not very common, and I don't know if a lot of people know about it, but it's very handy and it has a lot of different functions. You can add mirror your smartphone to it. You can add front cameras, rear cameras, and a whole variety of other things. It's something called a Navtool. It's basically an interface module that connects into your car that kind of intercepts a signal in between your screen and the other modules in the factory and can incorporate a signal in it, whether it be a video signal from a camera or your smartphone or whatever the case may be. You can see a full list of their capabilities if you go to their website, navtool.com, and you can see everything they do. They don't just do it for Chevy Corvettes either. They do it for a slew of other cars, all makes and models and everything. This was not sponsored by them. I just wanted to make this video because I've seen a lot of people that try to figure out how to install this thing or want to know more about it. So I went ahead and got it, and I'm going to show you how to install it and how to set it up and what basically it can do. Okay, so when you get this thing in the mail, it's going to come in a box that looks just like this. It's going to have all these components inside of it, and there's a lot going on in here. Now, some of this stuff, not all of it you're going to use, you're not going to use all of it, and some of it's going to be extra, but depending on your functions and what you're looking for. So you have the actual module itself. It's going to come like this. Silver all the way around. You're going to have some HDMI input and a USB on the bottom, and you're going to have some connector ports over here. You're going to read this sticker right here, and it says interface is not configured. Stop, don't do anything. Go to this website first before you do it. But I'm going to show you how to do that afterwards. So put that aside for now. Then you're going to have a whole bunch of different wiring harnesses that come out here. This is going to be one of your main ones. This comes out. It's a fairly long harness. Okay, and you're going to have some other, it's just a side of the other side. You're going to have some other connectors in here too. Some of these things are going to be used, some of them are not. Microphone inputs, these are all camera inputs, front, rear, side if you add them, so on and so forth. And then down here you've got even more wiring harnesses. You've got a whole bunch of different things for a whole bunch of different applications. Like I was saying before, sometimes you'll use some of these things and sometimes you won't. I'm using this thing basically just to add a front camera to my car, so that's pretty much what I'm going to walk you through right now, and hopefully it'll answer some other questions for you too. Here's some other cables that it comes in as well too. These are just micro USB type cables, and they all come in the bag and everything. So it's a little aux plug adapter, and then you're also going to have this that comes in here. And it's going to say right on it, USB cable. This is what you're going to need to use to configure the actual module itself, and I'll show you what I mean right now. Okay, so when you open it up, you're going to have this thing right here, this little sticker on it that says stop. Interface is not configured. Interface must be configured prior to installation in the vehicle. Please go to http://config.navtool.com. Okay, so as you can see, I have that pulled up on my browser here, config.navtool.com, and go ahead and go there. So it's going to bring you to this screen, okay? And it's basically going to give you instructions to kind of walk you through it to figure it out. So take your little cable that you had before, undo it, and then you're going to want to plug it in to the actual box itself. It's going to be a micro USB on this side. So we're going to go ahead and plug that in right there just to get it all set up. Okay, and just follow the instructions on the screen. Okay, connect the interface. Connect interface to the computer using supplied USB cable. Must use supplied USB cable. After you connect the interface, click the button above to connect the interface to the computer. Please note if interface is already paired to the car, connection window will not appear on the left and the interface connector will automatically appear. Okay, so connect the interface, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to go ahead and just plug it into a USB port on my computer. Okay, and click here to connect device to a computer. Okay, select that, go ahead and connect. It says you should have a window now open on the left. Please note if the interface is already paired. Connection to window will not appear on the left. Click the name car interface, highlight it, and connect, which is what we already did. Okay, so click the car interface, pair to highlight it, click the connect button on the bottom, connect the interface. Okay, so it basically just gave me instructions to what I just did. That little window that popped up over here, just click the car interface and then hit connect, okay? So now I'm gonna exit out of that because I already did that, okay? Okay, you can restart the tour if you want down here, okay? Step 1, install software, okay? So let's go ahead and install. Please select software from the list to install, okay? So you gotta pick all your vehicles and everything here, okay? So select make, I have a Chevrolet Corvette 2015 with an automatic transmission. I'm gonna exit out of that just to get the thing clear here, and search. Okay, with 8-inch screen, hit that. Okay, install. Okay, so now it's doing its installation. It took a second for me to click the install button in order for it to get to this screen though too. So if it does that for you, don't worry. Okay, just about done, 99%. And if you see up top of here, it says click here for installation and user manual after you configure the interface. So it's going to give you some instructions. Okay, all right, all done. Okay, video input settings. Click here to adjust video input settings. Okay, you can adjust video input settings here. Please keep in mind that you don't need to do any adjustments at this time if you choose not to. The same adjustment can be done from inside the Navtool interface menu after you install the interface. So you can change all these video input settings from the car once it's installed, okay? So, okay, rear view camera, okay. All right, so I'm gonna do factory rear view camera because I have a factory rear view camera, okay? All right, I'm done next. Aftermarket front camera, that's what I have, so yep, that's what I'm gonna be doing. Okay, I'm done next. Input 3, I'm gonna leave disabled because I'm not putting in a camera on the side or the left or right. You can, but I'm not. Leave that. Input 4 will also be the other side camera, and I'm done with that. Okay, save. Settings saved. Okay. So, all right. I can check Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Select the slider with on position if you choose to bypass the actual manual. Okay, I'm going to leave all that. I have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay added from White Audio Media. It didn't come with it from the factory, but it has been added as if it were factory. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave that. Interface audio feedback, yes. Manual activation with reverse trigger. Set slider to the on position if it requires you to wire for reverse camera, not to be confused with rear camera triggered or manual activation of the interface. Select slider off position if your installation does not require the sound. Please refer to the installation manual. See if the installation requires you to set this feature to on. So, please refer to the installation manual to see if the installation requires you to set the feature to on. For most vehicles, this should be set off. I think that's going to be off because I already have a factory rear view camera. Okay, save, done. Okay. All right, looks like that is all done. Okay, so here's where I'm at. It didn't come with any instructions. In case you're having a hard time figuring this stuff out, it took a little bit of digging for me to actually find this. Their website is not showing any instructions right now, but I was able to find this through Google search and just looking around. If you go to navtool.com/c7.pdf, it will bring up all these instructions for you. But I'm basically going to show you the shortened version of this to save the trouble of reading all this. It does tell you all the warning signs, fuse. If you're going to be connecting into certain things, make sure it's fused and disconnect the battery. Be careful. Be careful with certain different things because some things on the CAN bus circuit are very low voltage and other things can cause damage if you connect them wrong or whatever. But this is relatively plug and play for you setup, so it's kind of hard to do. By all means, read the instructions as well too, though. But this will be just a quick guess on how to do it. Okay, now just to cover one more thing, the front camera that I'm going to be using on this, and you can use a variety of different cameras, anything that you have, but this is going to be the one that I found. I ordered it off Amazon. I found that it's going to work just fine. It's a brand called Nautica. So that's just the camera that I got. I'll put the link in the description below, and here's basically how it's going to be set up. Here's the camera itself. It's going to be going down. I'm going to mount it underneath the front bumper down by the grill, and it can be mounted, or it can be vertically or horizontally, but it matters on some loops that you have to cut. And I'll show you how that works in a second here. So the camera, just the wire is going to follow up here. It's going to have this little pin connector here. This separates and pulls in and out, and that's how you're going to connect it to the main harness of it. Now, when you connect it, be careful. Just take a look at it, because there are some, see if I can get it to focus here. There are some arrows on it, and you have to line up the arrows in order for it to line up correctly. Kind of hard to see, but they're there. There are arrows on it on both sides of it, so you line up the arrows before you push it in. So then if you follow that, it goes to this little box right here, and you got two wires that are coming out here, black and a red. Now they leave you plenty of room on the black and the red, and obviously these are just going to be your power wires for the camera itself. Black being any ground and red being power. You're going to want to tap this into a power that is accessory voltage only, so it's only on when the car is on. Don't just tap it in straight to the battery, because otherwise it's going to be on all the time and it'll drain. I'll let you know where I end up tapping into that to give it some power. Then coming back over here, you just follow the harness, and then you have your big loop right here. This is just a whole big of extension for it, and your RCA for it as well too, in which case that's just going to plug into the RCA that we have from the Navtool harness. The only other wire that you have here is this red wire here. It's a trigger wire. I'm not going to be using that. You can set it up to use it that way. I really don't see the point of it, because that's kind of what the Navtool is for. So, but it even tells you and it gives you some instructions in the Nikita manual as to how to use it. So. Okay, now here's everything all wrapped up and kind of cleaned up and nice looking, and everything, so that way it looks it's all factory and everything is out of the way. So here's what I did here. So you'll see you have the one harness that I had before. This was the one that was wrapped up before. It had just a yellow wire showing with it, with a black cord also. This is going to go into the radio module on the passenger side, behind the kick plate on the passenger side. I'll show you how to get to that. I have that all wrapped up, and the loom goes all the way down. It goes all the way. It's pretty long, because it has to reach all the way across. Now you're going to want to leave this one exposed that has the number 3 on it. It's a 4-plug female connector with the number 3 on it. Leave that exposed. Your other harness is going to be your T harness, and this is what's going to tee into the actual HMI module on the driver's side kick plate. So this will go by the passenger side behind that kick plate, and this will go on the driver's side kick plate. This will plug into the HMI module, and you'll plug the factory harness into this part of it, and then this will tee off right here. This T connector, this black 16 pin, will go to this black 16 pin, which goes to this long harness that we had before that has the two RCA inputs. I only left 2 of them open because I'm going to test that with the cameras to see camera 1, input 1 and input 2, see if it's labeled 1 and 2 or if it's labeled front and back. So that way, if it's labeled 1 and 2, I'm just going to plug it into camera input number 1, despite the fact front camera is labeled number 2. So I just did that, so that way I can call it either input number 1 or camera number 2. But you really only have to leave 1 open if you're only putting in 1 camera. Again, this is if you're adding an aftermarket camera. So this connector will then plug into there, and then this will tee off and go into the HMI module. This connector right here, this 4-pin, will go into this long 4-pin from this long connector over here, and this is what that's connected to ultimately, and that will tee off the radio module on the passenger side kick plate. So that's how that one goes in, that's how that one goes in, and that connects to that, and then this gray connector will connect to the box itself. And you have these 2 connectors here with like these USB type cables on it. So what you're going to do is disconnect the these only go in one way, gray to gray, black to black. So they're just match them up, they only go in that way too. Once you disconnect the blue cable from the HMI module in the driver's side kick panel,
you're going to plug that blue cable into the female connector here on this cable, and then this cable will plug into the blue connector slot on the actual HMI cable module itself, and that will be all your connections that you have to make. So that's the long and short of it. Once it's all kind of cleaned up and wrapped up to make it look nice, that's what it'll look like. Again, you're only going to need one of those RCA cables if you're connecting just one front camera. If you're connecting a rear camera, for whatever reason your car doesn't have one, then you would do the other one. But if you're just connecting the one front, you just need the one. There are two more that are taped up in here that you can add for side cameras. I'm not adding side cameras, so I just taped them up and put them on in there. There are two other connectors that were wrapped up in here that I wrapped up that I'm not going to be using. They're for like microphones and things like that. I don't need them, so I just taped them up and left them there. So that's all that I had to leave out. And again, this is just an installation if you're just adding a front camera. Okay, so one of the first things you're going to have to do on this side is to pull up the trim piece panel that just goes right there. It just clips right in. Just pull it all up and it'll snap right out. Once you get that up, then you get the carpet out. Okay, now as installation goes on the passenger side, for this harness right here, you're gonna have this one that tees off with that one really long one where you have the little 4-pin connector. You have to plug this into the radio module itself, which is behind. I'm going to show you in a second. Then this you're going to run all the way across to the other side where your actual Navtool module is going to be. So pull your floor mat out and then just pull your carpet back, and you're going to get to this point right here. Okay, now this is already out of the way. This is your PDR recorder right here. Okay, if you have a PDR, you'll have it mounted on the back. If not, then it won't be there, but either way you'll have this plate. Now when you get to this plate back here, there's going to be three things holding it in. There's going to be a nut that holds it in right there. There's another nut right behind, and then there's going to be a 10mm bolt up there. So there's going to be one nut there, one nut there. You can't see it because it's behind that plate, but trust me, it's very obvious it's there. And then you got that 10mm bolt up right up there, right there. Okay, so when you have that pulled out, pull this, move it out of the way. Then you're going to expose this right here. This is the body control module. Now you got to get the body control module out of the way just to get ease of access. So over here, go to this little tab and just pull out on it, and it'll flex. And then the body control module, you just kind of play with it a little bit, wiggle it, and it'll pop out. And then it sits in on the other side. It just sits into that groove. Just pull it out, and there you go. Now that's out of the way. When you put it in, just put it in reverse order. The plug you need to get to is this plug right here where my finger is. Right there, okay? See if I can get some better light for you there. That plug right there. That like tan looking one below the black one, okay? So once you get to that plug, you just have to reach around and pull that plug out, and that's where your T connector is going to go. So if you just reach around behind, you can kind of feel there's a little tab. Mine was already pre-loosened. You'll press down on that tab. I already pre-loosened it, but you press down on that tab and just pull it, and it'll come out. Grab it, and it'll come out. And this is the one you have to tee into, okay? So just plug the female side of the harness into here and the male side of the other harness back into the module back there, and then run that other harness all the way across. Okay, so here's what it'll look like all back together. You see I have that one harness kind of tailing out from there, and there's those bolts I was talking about. There's the one nut right there, one nut right there, and the one bolt up top there. So when you tee off that harness and plug it into the back, don't worry, you're gonna have plenty of room back there to kind of tuck it back behind there safely. So once you get it clicked in, just tuck it behind there, click the BCM back into place, and put that plate with the PDR back in place, and leave this tail out and run it all the way across, and you can hook it up on the other side. Okay, now once you have everything up and over on that other side, you just got to run that one wire across. I ran it right across here, right about where the center console is. There was enough room for me to tuck it up in there, and plenty of room on there to slide this all the way through, and I have enough slack to be able to connect it and hook it up. Okay, so here's the final result of what it looks like underneath. Just went ahead and mounted the module right there. There's some holes in that bracket right there where you can zip tie. And I put some foam underneath there. I'm gonna adjust it a little bit just to keep it from rattling and to keep it safe. And everything else with the wires, I just kind of tucked up in there. There's plenty of space up in there and everything. And then that one harness from the other side just comes across here. And I just zip tied it up in place to keep it up and safe out of the way. So that's what it'll look like in the final mounting place once it's all done and secured in. Okay, so just to show you how I wired everything up here and how I did it, I'm going to show you exactly what I did. So the 4-pin connector for the camera is going to be tucked out down here underneath by the horn. And then if you look up in there, I have the box that has the power and ground for the camera itself coming off that. It's all taped up and tucked away there and zip tied together. I have this here sticking out right here because then if you look over at the bumper, the way that I did it, I have the bumper right here, put the camera right there, and just kind of ran it along the clips right here and put some zip ties in there. I don't generally like using zip ties too much because they look kind of gaudy, but it's going to be hidden, you're not going to see it. And I looped it around there and wrapped it around once there and left this tail right here. So this tail right here is just the perfect amount where it's going to be able to connect to the 4-pin connector on the where the bumper is. I just show you just on the actual car where the bumper goes on, and it reaches it perfectly. Now for the power and ground, that was a little bit tricky. You're gonna be tempted to tap into the headlight right here and use some of these grounds around here. Don't. The reason is because when you do that, it's going to connect to it and it's going to kind of give you some very weird operations. It's only going to give you power when either the headlights are on or the turn signals are on or the side markers are on or whatever. And the DRLs run off what looks like some sort of variable voltage, probably controlled by a logic device, at least according to the schematics. That only gives you 7 volts, so it's not enough to do it. So there's actually nothing in here, believe it or not, that's actually going to give you adequate power to be able to run it. And don't be tempted to use these grounds either. I used this one, and it didn't really work out so well. So what I did was I had to redo everything. And at this point, I already had the camera installed and routed in through the firewall, and I didn't really feel like running the wires all the way through the firewall. So what I did was ran everything up and through here, and taped it up and nice along this wire loom right here. And I tapped it into the actual engine harness. So the engine harness on the purge solenoid, which is right here, you can kind of see it, the expansion. Now let me move the expansion tank. The expansion tank is in the way. The purge solenoid is right there. You got 2 wires coming out of that, a green one and a purple one. The purple one runs off of 12 volt constant power when the engine is on or the ignition is on from the main powertrain relay. So that's always supplying a 12 volt constant. Then when you turn the ignition off, it shuts off. So there's that. So if you want to tap into that, so I took this harness and opened it up, tapped into it, ran it out, and then here's the wire that came out. So now I ran that wire through here and obviously taped it all up and nice and everything. Zip tied it right there and ran it underneath right here. And I even put a little inline connector in right here. Just in case, God forbid, I ever have to do anything major where I have to remove this harness or anything like that, I'm not stuck and I can't take the harness out itself. I put this little connector in here so that way I can just unclip it and do that. Then for the ground for it, I just tapped into the ground right here. For the actual chassis ground, and that worked great. Now you're going to be able to see all this right here and everything. Now for me, it's going to be nice because I have this the Corvette Performance expansion tank. So when I put the tank over it, it covers everything up. But even that, I wouldn't necessarily really hate the way that looks right there, even if I didn't have the tank in place. It looks pretty good. I like to try to make it as clean and as factory looking as possible. So. And then the rest of it, the RCA cable, which is right there, just runs and I ran it through there and it goes through the firewall, which I'll show you underneath how I got that through. The only other thing I'll say too is once you put this tank back in and you're putting it down here, just obviously be mindful of these wires and just make sure that they don't get pinched or caught underneath anything when you put it back in and causing any other problems. And in case you're curious, this is what it looks like once the tank is back in and installed. All the hoses are running just fine. And there's my wires underneath there. There's my one right there, tucked. It kind of wiggles a little bit, meaning that it's not pinched on anything. And everything is pretty much hidden and you can't really see it. It's all underneath the tank. Okay, so while trying to run the wire for the RCA cable to the input for the Navtool, I ran into a little bit of an issue. When I originally had said I was just going to run it by the hood cables. So when I got to where the hood cables were, I realized just how tight of an opening it was, and I was just not going to be able to fit it in there. So what I had to do is actually make a hole to actually get it in here, and here's what I did to get to actually make a hole to get it in there. So start by taking the wheel off, then you take the fender liner off. There's a little splash guard that goes right here. There's a 7mm bolt right underneath there. You take that out, and then these are just clips, pulls it out. The wheel liner pulls out with just some push clips, some 7mm and a 15. Then what you want to do is once you peel that back, you're going to want to go ahead and take this piece off, the little Z06 side kind of fender cover, whatever you want to call it. So at that point, there's going to be 3 8mm bolts, one here, and one here. And then there's some clips that just hold it in. Once you have the wheel liner out, you're going to want to go in from the inside right here and take those bolts out right there, or the nuts, excuse me, and pop that thing out. Then once you have that out, you're going to get access to the washer fluid tank, which is right here. Once you get the washer fluid tank, you're going to want to take that out. Now there's 3 bolts that hold this thing in. They're all 13mm. There's one there. There is one up top right there. And then there's another one back there. You can see the hole for it. The washer tank's not aligned for it, but not right now because it's down. But it's right there. That one's a real pain to get to, and if you take this side cover off, it makes it a little easier. Take that one out first, so that way all the weight is not on the tank when you're trying to take that bolt out. So take that one out first. Take that one out, then take these other 2. Then once you have it out, just go ahead and drop the tank and just move it out of the way. Once you move it out of the way and kind of scooch it over just a little bit, you'll be able to get in here where you'll see a opening where you can make a hole. So there it is right there. So that little green thing with the cable coming out of it, that is the those are the hood cables. So you're not going to squeeze it in through this. So below there, what I did was I just drilled a little hole and I marked it on the inside and coordinated it and just made sure that I wasn't drilling into anything, because be real careful when you do this, because if you accidentally drill into some wires, you're obviously going to, have a huge problem. So that can be a big deal. So I just made a little hole, put a grommet in there, ran the cable through, and I put a little RTV silicone around there just because I didn't have a proper size grommet. So I had to kind of seal it up just a little bit. There is one wiring harness that is up in there, right kind of there. I kind of tucked it out of the way and just moved it so that way I didn't accidentally drill into it. And you'll see it once you get it out. You can kind of see it a little bit from the side over here. There it is. And it sits on like a little stud right there. You just pull the clip off that stud so you can move it out of the way. Be real careful, because if you drill into that, obviously you're going to have some major problems. So I had to make that in order to pass the cable through. Once you have that, you'll see where the cable comes through on the inside right here. It's right there. Right there. As you can see, again, I put a little RTV sealant on it just to make it weatherproof, because I didn't have the proper size grommet. And once I get the proper size grommet, I'll go in there and I'll replace it and put the right one in there, but I don't have it with me right now, so I did that. And obviously once I have that cable through, you just feed it all the way through. Now this camera that I have is a universal camera, so you can see there's a whole ton of extra cable left over. All I'm going to do is just tie it up, zip tie it, and tuck it out of the way, and make my connection to the RCA, which is right there, and zip tie everything and tuck it up in there. There's plenty of room in there for you to do that. Once you have that in there, you can go ahead and just button everything up and just make sure it works. Now, the other option you can do is you can run it all the way across. There is a wire loom, a grommet on the passenger side, and it is all the way
like tucked down in there. It's real hard to get to. I've done it before, but I didn't want to run the cable all the way across and then all the way back across just to do it. So I just made the hole over there. So once you have that in, go ahead and make your connection, and then I'll show you what it's like once everything's all set and done. But yeah, a little bit of an issue running it through the cable, the hood release cable, which I originally mentioned. But nonetheless, this is just how I got it through. It's a little bit of a pain. If you don't know what you're doing, don't attempt it, and get somebody who does know what they're doing to help you. Because if you drill into something and cause an issue, it's going to be a big problem for you. Okay, so here's the final result. Everything's all installed and good to go. Here's what's going to look like to how to set it up and access it onto your actual infotainment screen. So right now, I'm sitting in my garage. I'm in park, and I'm not going anywhere, okay? So now, just like I had it set up before, I set it up on the computer. You put it in reverse. There is your backup camera, okay? Normal factory backup camera. As soon as you go into drive, comes up to the front camera. It's automatic. So there's my front picture. The camera I use is not the greatest camera in the world, but it definitely gets the job done. It's good enough, and it gives me good enough picture of what I want to see. I'll probably upgrade to a better camera a little later on, but this is working just for now, and it's definitely more than sufficient. So once you go into drive, it's automatically going to go to the front camera picture, and once you hit 10 miles per hour, it will automatically shut off and go to the main screen. It'll just go to that home screen, okay? So now you're in this picture right here. If you ever want to get out of this picture, what you do is you press and hold the upper right-hand corner of the screen right here. There you go. And you'll kind of hear it like click a little bit down in the box from where I have it mounted. So if the box is inside the car, you'll hear it click and it'll like turn on or off, okay? So now if you ever want to get to this screen, say you're just driving and you're pulling into a spot, you want to see it, you don't have to go into reverse and drive to do it. You can just get to this main screen, again, press and hold. So if I go to this main screen right here, what was also a little bit slightly disappointing is, so when I upgraded this thing and added the Apple CarPlay, it automatically put this little camera logo here for the front camera system as part of the upgrade. But if I press it, obviously nothing happens. It would have been really nice if I could find a way to do that, but oh well. But you just go to the upper right-hand corner of the screen right by where the clock is, press and hold it, and up comes this screen, okay? So down here is where you can add Apple CarPlay and Android Auto if you want to add it that way, which I already have it the other way, so it doesn't matter to me. HDMI input, and then here's all your camera inputs, and then here's all the settings. Just like I was telling you before, you can go in there and change all the settings, just like like from before when I showed you, you can change it in here. So whatever, I'll exit out of there. You can change the camera settings, you know, video input, blah, blah, blah. You can do all that stuff, so whatever. Now, to get to the actual camera, I just come right down here. I got that little picture with the camera in front of the car, press it, and there it is, okay? And if I want to get back to the main screen, you just press and hold the upper right-hand corner, and it goes away, and there it is. So that's how it works. It came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. It's a little bit tedious to install, but once you get it in, it definitely is of much benefit. I'm pretty happy with it. So anyways, I just want to put this together just to show how to put in the whole Navtool, because there wasn't really a good video out there on how to do it. It can be a little confusing. It doesn't really come with instructions. But so yeah, that's how you can add a camera to your car. And if you want to add the side cameras, obviously you can do that as well too, but this is just the front camera. I don't care about the side cameras. So anyways, yeah, hope this helps. Good luck.